again. Welcome to our third flight of Argentina. Right here we have full Malbec flight, and these are some of my personally favorite Malbecs. Quickly, we're gonna redo the map. I'm so sorry. I apologize to the Argentine people for how imprecise the map is, but this is just so we can take a quick peek. We talked about the north of Argentina. We talked about the Patagonia, and we unfortunately don't have any Patagonian Malbec right now, and the Cuyo area. So we have two that come from the Cuyo area, specifically from Mendoza, and one that is from the north. And here we're gonna talk about style differences and terroir differences. Our first two come from Mendoza and come from the Valle de Uco or Uco Valley, but they are very different. They have distinct styles, and they're both lovely, and they both adapt really well to different types of cuisine and also different seasons and different moods. Why not? First, we're going to start with Tinto Negro. Tinto Negro is a relatively young project by two agronomer engineers, two winemaker and agronomers that formerly worked in Catena Zapata, which is one of the greatest reference for Argentinian wine and Argentine winemaking. So these guys know what they're doing, and as they learned in Catena, they pursue expression of terroir, and they went great lengths to find really interesting terroirs in their expression. So this is Tinto Negro, and it's called limestone block because literally it's a block of limestone soil that they are growing their vineyard in. And that gives Malbec a really interesting expression. It's concentrated, it's still very expressive in the nose, but it goes towards more slightly darker aromas. There's a lot of blackberry and blueberry here, not that much of red fruit. There's slightly that beautiful violet component. Also some tobacco, some leather, something a little darker and more like a deeper kind of dark aroma. And in the palate, this one has fantastically ripe tannins, slightly sweet, silky, but still very vibrant in the mouth. I would say a medium plus body, so completely full bodied, but it's extremely lingering. There's a lot of that complexity of aromas, a lot of that ripe black fruit that remains in your mouth. Makes it an incredible wine to enjoy by itself, but also to pair with some of our most famous dishes, such as our empanadas or our asado, which is a thing of its own. Moving to La Consulta in Valle de Uco, we have some of my favorite Malbecs made by one of my favorite winemakers, who is also a dear friend. This is Alto Cedro Gran Reserva by Karim Musi, and this is one of a kind Malbec. This, in a world of super concentrated Malbecs, this is a beautiful, delicate version of one. This Malbec, all from Uco Valley, has a 5% of Semillon added to it. Semillon is a white grape, and that is a practice that we normally see in the Rhone Valley more frequently. And that little touch of Semillon makes all the difference. If this wine didn't have that little touch of white grapes, it would be far darker and far heavier in the palate. Yet this has a fantastic explosion of red fruits, lots of cranberry, lots of plums, lots of red cherries. And there's a good deal of oak here. Also, all the complexity and all the added nuance of oak is very, very present. There's lots of vanilla, a little bit of coconut, a little bit of coffee. And it's not an insidious one, it's not exaggerated. It's very balanced, very promising in the mouth, in the nose, and then in the mouth. As silky as it gets. Smooth, deep, lingering, and everything is very well blended together. I like this wine because not only it's one of a kind in its style, but also its character and the complexity and the whole experience that it offers. It's normally rather expensive if you would get it from any other producer. This is a wine that offers you one of the most exquisite, most refined expressions of Malbec. And you don't have to break the bank while doing it. So I think it's a fantastic option to really look at what Malbec has to offer when it doesn't get as potent, when it doesn't get as ripe and as dark. So whenever you get a chance, this is really worth it. And to finalize, we are going back to the north, my home region, and we are going back to the Calchaquí Valley. This is El Porvenir Laborum, and this is one of their single vineyards. It is Finca Rio Seco. There's actually a song that talks about Cafayate in the northern area, that talks literally about how sandy the land is, and that's no exaggeration. This soil is completely sandy, a little bit of loam, and it's quite a challenge to grow Malbec in this area. And actually, in the north, you get a proper soil to grow some of the most potent, most concentrated grapes. The north is also, besides Malbec, is also known for their Cabernet Sauvignon, some Cabernet Franc, and Tannat. Tannat is actually a really dark, really concentrated grape that does very well in the north. In the north, the main difference that we have with the rest of Argentina is the altitude of the vineyards. Some of the highest vineyards of Argentina are here, and I believe that this particular one is about 1,500 feet over sea level. This also, as we know, Argentina has relatively, it has very warm weather, warm summers, and the north is a lot closer to the tropic than the rest of the growing areas of Argentina. So the only way to get a thriving vineyard and to get actually impressive wines is by growing it in areas where nights are cooler and winters are very cold. So this region is particularly important because it combines all those factors and makes it the proper place to grow some of the darkest, more lush and more concentrated red wines. So this Malbec, unlike the two previous ones, is ink dark, has a fantastic body to it, and has a very distinct aroma. Here we don't have a lot of ripeness. We have much fresher fruit, but a lot of concentrated fruit. There's lots and lots of plum, a little bit of a chocolate hint, a little bit of even a mocha or coffee aspect to it. mouth, it has a slightly sweeter approach, and a slightly, like, excuse me, a slightly sweeter attack. Bold, very full-bodied. That chocolate and that mocha remains in the palate way after you've swallowed the wine. And the tannin is big, it's expressive, it's very well integrated, it's very ripe. So whenever you have a New York steak or a ribeye, something that, a steak that has a particularly high ratio of fat, something that has a lot of richness, the tannin and the body in this wine is the perfect combination. Not only because it stands up to those very intense, very rich flavors, but also because the tannin in the wine will bind to the protein, will bind to the fat that's in your palate, and will drag it down. So it will literally rinse your palate and create a very pleasant sensation, and will also allow you to have a little more of both the wine and the steak. So here, as you can see, we have barely covered some of the growing regions of Argentina. I'd say that probably what we need to do next is Luján de Cuyo, which is the most impressive and one of the oldest growing regions of Argentina that we haven't really touched here. But this, as a whole, it was just meant to show you that there's way much more than the single glass of just generic Malbec that you normally get. There's a lot going on in terms of varieties, in terms of terroir and the identity of the terroir, and also some projects that are very young and that are increasingly bringing out the diversity and the potential for Argentinian wine. So thank you so much for watching us, and I hope that you get to sample some or all of these and enjoy them. Please leave a comment if you have any suggestions, anything you want to see forward, or anything that you particularly enjoyed of this. So thank you so much.